How's it going, everybody? It's Triple L, and today I'm going to be giving you a last-minute guide to filling out your March Madness bracket for 2021. And we're not going to waste any time. We're going to go ahead and get right into the video. So looking at the bracket, we went through it a couple days ago, and since then I've had a little bit of a change of heart. Some of the picks that I made then probably wouldn't be the same ones that I pick now, but that was my first inclination. I'm going to stick to it. Now, as far as this goes, what this is going to be is essentially just a last-minute guide, not only for people who really don't know what they're doing, but also for people who sort of do know what they're doing, and just maybe some tips or some statistics that that could possibly help you out in filling this out, and maybe keep you a little bit grounded. I've liked to make a lot of upset picks in the past, and so I've had to sort of chill out a little bit and not quite pick so many upsets. Let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing in picking your bracket and wanting to actually win your pool or whatever group you're in, trust the top teams. We've had one seed lose. We've had a couple of 2 seeds lose in the first round, but this year you can trust Gonzaga and you can trust Baylor. You can trust Iowa. And the same thing for Ohio State. And then looking down at the bottom, same thing. We're going to advance Michigan and Illinois, and also Houston and Alabama. Those teams are all very safe picks. You can trust these top teams. They're all good teams for a reason. They're going up against lower seeds for a reason. The odds really aren't in your favor. And a lot of times these higher seeded teams, they do make it far in the tournament, and there's a specific reason for that. So you don't want to take one of them out a little bit too early. Looking at these 8 and 9 seed matchups, these 8 and 9 seed matchups are very interesting. And personally this year, I think any of them could really go either way. But I'm going to go with Oklahoma, and I'm going to go with North Carolina. Both of those teams are very solid teams. They've had their good moments. They've had their bad. Same thing for LSU. LSU is a little bit underrated right now. I think that they are a very safe pick to beat St. Bonaventure. The other 2 games could go either way. This one is probably the toughest game to pick, I think, in the first round, is Loyola Chicago and Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech just won the ACC tournament. Loyola Chicago, also a good team in their own right. I'm going to go with Georgia Tech. So those are some of the quick things that we can just sort of get out of the way. You can trust the 1 seeds, and the 8 and 9 seeds are fairly, they're sort of toss-up games. They're close games for a reason. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is not to go upset heavy. According to the statistics that I've been reading, there's an average of 12 upsets in any tournament, somewhere between 10 to 14, so it averages out to be about 12. So what do they consider an upset? A 9 over an 8 seed is not an upset. A 5 over a 4 seed, that's not an upset. We're talking about at least a 10 seed beating a 7 seed. And so if you're going to look for 12 of those, that's for the entirety of the bracket, not just the first round. So don't be afraid to pick upsets. It's okay to pick upsets. It's not, it's boring if you just pick by chalk. And you probably could win that way. But if you're looking for the most accuracy, I'm going to give you some of these upset teams that are very smart risks. And that's the next point, is to take smart risks. Looking at some of the teams that could be a smart risk in taking is Georgetown over Colorado. Georgetown is playing very well right now. And with them being a 12 seed, not only have they had decent competition throughout the year, unlike Colorado, they're also playing their best basketball of the year right about this time, so they are a very safe pick as far as taking an upset. Also, another upset, Michigan State or UCLA, whichever team wins this game, they are going to have a very solid chance to beat BYU. BYU has one player. He's like 7'3", really good, and really, BYU is one shining moment for this year is that they had a double-digit lead over Gonzaga at halftime. They lost the game, I think, by 10 points. And so their one shining moment is that they had Gonzaga dead to rights, I guess, at some point. But that's not enough for me to say that that they're an easy choice to take over a team like Michigan State, who I think will beat UCLA. So Michigan State or UCLA, either team over BYU is a safe pick. Maryland is sort of playing fairly well right now. They're a decent team. They're a safe pick to take over UConn. Looking over to this side, Oregon State over Tennessee. Tennessee, there's some. It's up in the air whether or not they're going to have one of their better players back. I think he will be back, but just in case if he doesn't play, Oregon State, I believe their record against the top 25, they're 2-1. So Oregon State over Tennessee would not be a bad choice to take. I will take Tennessee in that game. Syracuse over San Diego State. Syracuse has Buddy Boeheim. He's a very good shooter. They're a good team, a good coach. I don't even really consider games like this upsets when you have a storied program like Syracuse going up against San Diego State, but they are an 11 seed taking on a 6 seed, but Syracuse is a very safe pick to take. Also, Rutgers over Clemson. I believe this is like the first time in a really long time or something crazy that Rutgers has made it into the tournament, and Clemson is a fairly inconsistent team. That is another safe pick that you can make. I think Clemson will win that game, so I am going to take them. And then looking up to this top side, just in looking at some of these games here, USC could possibly lose to Wichita or Drake, but they do have one of the better players in the country. But that is a pick that you could make that can make some sense. Same thing for Ohio over Virginia. Virginia, the same reason why they lost to UMBC, same reason why they could lose to Ohio. Creighton and UCSB, sort of the same thing. And I am going to make this pick here with UCSB over Creighton. Another one is Winthrop over Virginia. Or Villanova, excuse me. Winthrop over Villanova. Villanova is missing their best player. And so they're starting to learn how to play without him. But Winthrop is going to be a team that I'm going to take. And then just looking at some of these last ones, Virginia Tech over Florida. Virginia Tech, I think they're actually a little bit underrated. That's another thing to keep an eye out for. Underrated teams being ranked a little too low. I think Virginia Tech over Florida is another safe pick. And then the last thing, which is a little bit strange, but it does happen, is a 14 seed going over a 3 seed. I would be a little bit surprised this year if we don't have at least one 14 seed or lower win one game. And I'm not saying that I think a 16 seed's going to win. I'm not saying something crazy is going to happen with a 15 seed, but I would be a little bit surprised if every single 1 through 3 seed advances. And so a smart pick in terms of 3 seeds that could lose is Colgate over Arkansas. Colgate over Arkansas. Arkansas is not typically known to be a powerhouse school. And looking at the other 3 seeds, I think Kansas is a very strong team. I also think, let's see, where are they? Texas. I think Texas is an absolute championship contender. I also think Morehead State over West Virginia. I guess if you're going to pick a 14 seed beating a 3 seed, you could either go with West Virginia and Morehead State, or you could go up here to Arkansas and Colgate. And so my pick is Arkansas. So trust the top teams. Don't go upset heavy, but plan to pick somewhere around 12 upsets in the bracket. That's an average, and you don't have to stick to exactly 12, but if you get around there, you're probably going to be pretty close to the statistics. Take smart risks. Cinderellas will happen, but don't let them advance too far in your bracket. And then another thing is to go with your gut. So I'm going to finish out the rest of this bracket, and this is going to be sort of showing you after letting things digest a little bit what my gut feeling is going to be, keeping some of these things in mind. So I'm going to go Gonzaga over Oklahoma and just get them advanced. I'm also going to go Baylor over North Carolina. I guess another side tip is to not let your bias take over. If you're a fan of Texas, or if you're a fan of Iowa, if you're a fan of one of these other seeds that's not a 1 seed, but they are pretty good, there's nothing wrong with letting them advance and trusting in your team. But don't let your bias, allow you to, take Ohio all the way to the Final Four. Of course, I say that, and they'll make the Final Four, and I'll look like an absolute idiot. But don't let your bias affect your picking. So I'm going to let Baylor go over North Carolina. Then just looking at this side, for all of you that are worried I'm just going all over the place, don't worry. We're going to get back on track here. So I'm taking Purdue over North Texas, Texas Tech over Utah State. Before we go down, I'm going to take Virginia, USC, Kansas, and Oregon. Down here, we already have Georgetown, so we're going to take Florida State, Texas. We already have those picks made. And then I'm going to take Oklahoma State and West Virginia. So now that we are on to the next round, we've already had Gonzaga and Baylor go. I am going to take Virginia over UCSB. I will take Kansas over USC. And I'm going to take Iowa over Oregon. And then on this side, I'm going to take Ohio State over Virginia Tech, Texas Tech over Colgate, Purdue over Winthrop, and Baylor is already advanced. Going down to this side, we're going to take Michigan over LSU. I think that this is one upset that, if we're keeping in mind smart upsets, I think a lot of people have expected that Michigan is going to be the first 1 seed to lose, possibly Baylor. But I think LSU's chances of beating Michigan are better than UNC's chances of beating Baylor. So we're going to take Michigan over LSU, Florida State over Georgetown. We're going to take Texas over Michigan State, and we're going to take Alabama over Maryland. On this side, we're taking Houston. I'm going to go Syracuse over West Virginia. They're going to be my one Cinderella team to make it to the Sweet 16. Oklahoma State over Tennessee, and Illinois over Georgia Tech. Now, looking at Michigan, Florida State, this is going to be another upset I will pick. I'm going to pick Florida State over Michigan, and I'm going to pick Texas over Alabama. On this side, this is a game that I struggle with because I know Illinois is a good team, but there's just something about Cade Cunningham that he's such a good player, and we've seen it before with I believe it was South Carolina, P.J. Dozier. We've seen it out of Syracuse with Carmelo Anthony. We've seen it where teams that are solid teams, but they have a superstar player that leads them really to the Final Four and sometimes all the way. So I'm going to take Oklahoma State over Illinois and Houston over Syracuse, and I'm going to take Oklahoma State over Houston. Houston is one of those teams where I probably would actually have them lose a little bit earlier, but the way that this bracket has gone, I see Houston, they're sort of having a little bit of an easy road. If they were in another position, I probably would have them lose early. If they were going up against a better 7 seed than Clemson, or even a team that could be trusted a little bit more than Clemson, I probably would have them advance. And then before we go up, I'm going to pick Texas over Florida State. Now up here, Gonzaga over Virginia. I think that's the smart pick. I think that that's what would likely happen. I think actually if this game did happen, it's going to go one or two ways. Either Virginia is going to control the pace and they're going to win the game, or Gonzaga is going to run them out of the building. I don't see anything in between either of those options. I'm also going to take Baylor over Purdue and Ohio State over Texas Tech. And then looking at this Kansas-Iowa matchup, you know, Kansas is one of those teams where they pull out close games and then they lose other games. I think I like Iowa and their three-point shooting and Luka Garza a little bit better there. And then looking here, I think Gonzaga beat Iowa State pretty bad, and I think Ohio State is going to beat Baylor. So now looking at our Final Four, where did it go? There it is. I don't know why I couldn't see that, put my goggles on. Anyway, Gonzaga and Texas, I think Gonzaga wins that game. That is a smart pick. And Ohio State over Oklahoma State. Oh, do I want to go with Oklahoma State? I think I'm going to go with Ohio State, and the reason why, and just trying to be smart, is Oklahoma State, they are a 4 seed, and while they do have a really great player, I don't think that I want to lose in terms of overall points, putting it to them going all the way to the championship game, because I don't think that they are going to win the championship. And so Oklahoma State, I've put a little bit of trust in them. See, now I'm starting to rethink myself.
Stupid. I'm not going to let you get the chance.
Should I change it? I think I am going to change it. I think I am going to take Illinois over Oklahoma State and also over Houston. And then I think I'm still going to stick with Ohio State over Illinois. And the reason why is it's not very common that 1 seeds match up in the finals. So looking at the numbers, that's not always the way that you can go by. But 2017 was the last year that we had 2 1 seeds going up against each other. My Tar Heels picked up the win. They finally got the redemption, but it's not super common that we have 1 seeds match up against each other in the championship. And so I guess one last parting pick. Once you get to this championship game, you can go with either team, but expect the score to be in the 70s or 80s. So I usually like to pick a score of we'll go 83 to 77. That is a fairly smart pick, a fairly smart bracket. And one last piece of advice is don't let all 1 seeds go to the Final Four. That's only happened one time in 2008. So don't let all your 1 seeds go to the Final Four. This year, all the 1 seeds, they're not as strong as those teams were in 2008. They're not as strong as other teams have been in past years as far as 1 seeds go. And you're going to have one of these lower seeds just get hot, and they'll beat a 1 seed. It happens just about every year. So expect a 2 or a 4 seed to knock a 1 seed out at some point in time. And I'm going to guess that that's going to be Michigan losing to Florida State or Texas. I don't see Michigan State making the Final Four in any way, shape, or form. But this is my tips to putting together a smart bracket. My last video did very well, and I can't thank you guys enough. Not only does it make me feel good because I feel like I'm being rewarded for putting time into the content, but it also makes me happy because I know that I'm providing something of value to you guys. So thanks for checking out the video, guys. See, I tried to go into my outro and I already screwed it up. So let me try it again. All right. Thanks for checking out the video, guys. Make sure to watch our previous video and see us make our picks. And if you're interested in Madden 21 content, feel free to check that out as well. And we'll see you guys in the next one.